Today we celebrate the feast day of All Saints, and this is our feast day. This is the day which we celebrate the fact that each one of us, every one of us, by our baptism, is called to be a saint, is called to be holy. I celebrated Mass at Presentation of Mary Academy over in Hudson this afternoon, and a bunch of the kids didn't really know me. They'd seen me maybe at confessions last year or something like that, and so I started out by going in front and just saying, "Today is All Saints. We're called all to be holy. Aren't you excited?" The few that did know me actually laughed at that. And then I went on and saying how saints aren't boring people. Saints are exciting. Saints are the ones that you really want to be around. They draw us to them and to God. A lot of times we think about saints as, oh yeah, those people. We're called to be saints. We're called to be holy because, you see, only saints get to heaven. And as we were talking about in our men's group this morning, you don't want to aim for heaven. If you aim for heaven and miss, thanks be to God we have the grace of purgatory where we can purify ourselves. But if you aim for purgatory and miss, it's not really a very good second option after that. We want to be holy. Now, we don't always desire it, but we want to be saints. This is why God made us. He didn't make anyone to go to hell. He made every single one of us to be with Him in heaven. But we get to choose what we do with that. It's interesting that truth, though, that we can't get to heaven on our own. It's not like we can really work and grit our teeth and finally become the holy saints that we're called to be. No, that's impossible on our own. We can't do it. We can't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We can't make ourselves holy. On the other hand, God won't make us holy without our participation. So we need His grace, and we need our effort. Our effort is not enough. It won't get us there. But God won't give us His grace if we're not working for it. An image. St. Therese of Lisieux, Doctor of the Church, speaks about it this way. She sees a small child who's at the bottom of a staircase and striving hard to get up that first stair, but no matter how hard she tries, she can't climb that first stair. She's trying and she's trying and she can't get anywhere. But her father, who's standing at the top of the stairs, looks down and his heart goes out to her, seeing how hard she's trying. And so he himself will come down those stairs and pick her up, and his arms become the elevator which raise her up all those stairs. She couldn't do it on her own. She needed the grace that was there from her father. But if she'd just been playing at the bottom of the stairs, her father would have never come down and picked her up. We need to work, but our work is not enough. It's not sufficient. Only God can make us holy. And that's the beautiful thing, that we don't have to rely on ourselves, especially when we see ourselves failing over and over and over and over again. We had our first reconciliation retreat last weekend, and I try to drill this into the heads with the kids. I say, we say, "I'm sorry," God says, "I forgive you." But what if you do something really, 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 really bad? And you say you're sorry to God, and He says, "I forgive you." But what if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you're sad? But you say to God, "I'm sorry," and you mean it. God says, "I forgive you." God never gets tired of forgiving us. It is we who grow tired of asking for forgiveness. So how do we get there? I think the psalm speaks powerfully to this. Lord, this is the people that longs to see your face. It's in desire, in longing. I was thinking about this today after I preached this morning. I was saying, how can I explain this a little bit better? And I'm going to use an image. Hopefully it'll come out the way I plan. Here's my image. You can all see this. The image. It's a blank piece of paper. But here's where you get to use your imagination. You are going to imagine right now that on this blank piece of paper is the most beautiful painting in the whole world. You know what's on here? The human body. The most beautiful thing in the world that God made us. What has become the problem with this in our world? After sin, this happened. This happened. It got messed up. The beauty that was there got messed up, and our desires got all disordered and everything. So what do we do with this? Some people say, look at that messed up thing, it needs to go in the trash. Throw it away. Don't get in touch with your desires at all. Don't deal with any of that. That's bad. I don't think that's right. Neither does the Catholic Church. Catholic Church says the right thing to do is not deny our desires, nor to leave them crumpled up like this, but rather to reorder those desires back to what they're supposed to be. And as I was pondering over this image this morning, I thought about this fact. Every one of our disordered desires is really a desire for God. Every one of our disordered desires is really a desire for God. It's just it's turned the wrong way. So, our disordered desire for sex, when it's disordered, not that desire for sex is bad, but when it's disordered, what's it searching for? It's searching for union, searching for love. No matter what type of perversion it takes, it's searching for union. Union ultimately with God. Disordered desire for food. Granted, we didn't have trick-or-treating yesterday. So maybe you have a lot of extra candy in your house if you were expecting trick-or-treaters. Hopefully you'll be able to get rid of it all on Saturday night. But there's some disordered desires around food that usually happens around this time of year. What's that searching for? Again, to have that emptiness filled. Ultimately, it's pointing towards the Eucharist. Our longing to become one with God. Every single one of our disordered desires is somehow a twisted desire for God. So the problem is not that we have the desires. The desires are not something we want to throw out, but they need to be reordered in the right direction. You following me on this? So, I wish I could remember who said this. Maybe it was St. Augustine. I don't know. Pretend it's St. Augustine. Done a lot of research for this homily, you can tell. He who is lost in his desires is less lost than he who has lost his desire. He who is lost in his desires is less lost than he who has lost his desire. We need our desire to get to heaven. We need our desires to get to heaven. They are the rocket fuel that point us to the heavens. The only problem is when the rocket fuel is pointed in on me, it explodes. But when the rocket is pointed to the stars, when it's pointed to Almighty God, those desires then shoot us to the heavens. Our desires are not bad. They're just pointing in the wrong direction. This is how we become saints. Not by throwing away our desires or, gritting our teeth really hard and pushing them down or repressing them or getting rid of them. but rather turning them and recognizing how each one of these desires is really a desire for God, for the divine, to be longing to be one with God. And then when we point them in the right direction, Lord, this is the people that longs to see your face. Lord, this is the people that longs to see your face. And then we will find that finally, for once, our desires actually get satisfied.